Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Modern Divorce Podcast. It's March 8th, 2022. I went to the grocery the other day and no one was wearing masks. Well, half the people. So, how about court? Is that like opening up? Are you freaked out like me or?
A little, but I'm sort of ready. I'm getting tired of the masks. I went to my daughter's cheerleading competition this weekend and nobody was wearing masks. It was so weird. But and I still wear masks when I go in public places, but the courts actually have a rule you still have to wear masks. So for court, we still do.
Yeah, it's an enclosed place. Probably
Yeah.
outdoors. Everyone's okay. So we kind of figure this out. So um, we have what is it, the light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing that a little bit. So yeah, it looks like schools. I know schools are coming back. It's probably alleviating a lot of parent problems. Are you noticing that too?
Yeah. I mean, school, like the testing and the, strict rules for COVID have loosened up a lot. Um, which is much easier for parents because we don't have to like freak out that we can't send our kid to school if they sneeze one time from allergies. The hope is just people are responsible and that they do keep their kids home if their kids are sick or test positive. But I think starting next week, they're not even going to require masks at school anymore. And if you want to, you still can wear them, but I have no idea how I'm going to get my kids to wear a mask when no one else is wearing a mask. They're just going to be like, no way. And guessing they would probably wear their mask till they get to their classroom and then take them off when I can't see.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. With that, because it was like they call it endemic, so we're at the tail end of it. That said, let's get into the part of the show where we go over the divorce news for the day. We see things like trends on Google. We see, child custody things, financial things that come up. And oh my gosh, today, as always, Kim Kardashian somehow and Kanye West somehow get into the news. Let's kind of see if we could get some nuggets here. So they're still going through the divorce, just like Emily talks about how these celebrity divorces drag on for years and years, if not decades. It's like the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie divorce. So this one, let's read the headline here from BuzzFeedNews.com. Kanye West opened up about his divorce from Kim Kardashian and said it feels good, feels like his soul was dragged over coals in a new poem shared days after she was declared legally single in court. So, quote, divorce feels like heavy breathing. Divorce feels like suffocating, barely breathing, like you've been set on fire for your truth and labeled a liar. So Kanye West, now legally known as Ye, shared an original poem on his Instagram on Saturday, giving more insight into how he's coping since his divorce from Kim Kardashian. So as you might be aware, Ye has been vocal about his displeasure with the split ever since Kim filed for divorce from him last Friday, began dating her new boyfriend, Pete Davidson, in late October. So let's see. Okay, so shortly after Kim and Pete were spotted together on their joint Saturday Night Live appearance, he publicly dismissed the divorce entirely, claiming that he'd never even seen the legal papers in an interview in early November. So let's see here, see if we get anything. So it kind of goes over their kind of journey through the last few months. So I think it's kind of what's fascinating to me is these celebrities who have just an infinite amount of resources, and when they go through divorce, it's like they're just like us, the ordinary people, and they still have like, I guess you'd say like mental health issues and things. So they're not immune to it.
Yeah, it's true. And I actually have had quite a few of these discussions with clients this week about, you know, is this normal that one party drags their feet or delays everything and makes us go slow? And like there, you can see it even in the news that Kanye West is doing the same thing. He's denying he's even seen the paperwork or that almost that the divorce is even happening. So unfortunately, this is more common than not. One person doesn't want the divorce or isn't ready or, usually doesn't want it. And they can drag it out because the way the system is, it takes a long time to get a court date. It takes a long time to move things forward. And so it is possible for one side to make it go pretty slow. And it's very frustrating to the other side. And there's just nothing that can be done to speed it up. It's a public system, it's overloaded. There are tons and tons of cases, and you just have to wait your turn. And if the other side is delaying your turn, sometimes you're just stuck with that delay until the court finally says no more delays.
Yes, I think we'll see more news updates as this thing develops. So I think partly they like the spotlight and they're probably selling concert tickets or like they need viewership for, I think the Kardashians signed with Hulu, so that's coming out. So I'm sure there'll be coverage about this. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll see. Well, this is to be continued. Okay, let's go to our next story here, or an article by jdsuper.com. So 4 tips for protecting your separate assets in divorce. So when you're contemplating divorce or preparing to get married, it's important to make sure your separate assets are preserved. So assets acquired between the date of marriage and date of separation are presumed to be marital unless they meet certain exceptions. So here are 4 steps you can take to protect your separate assets from equitable distribution. Document the value as of date of marriage. So anything you own prior to marriage is your separate asset. If the asset increases in value during the marriage, the increase in value is marital pursuant to the divorce code. So number 2, keep your separate assets in your sole name. If you add your spouse's name to a premarital asset, you then gift the asset to the marriage. That means you lose any separate interest in the asset and it is now marital. Okay, so 3 is document any gifts you receive. Gifts you receive from your spouse or marital assets, gifts you receive from a third party are not marital assets, but any increase in value of the gift during the marriage is marital. Number 4 is put it in writing. The best way to protect assets is through a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement. If there is anything important to you, you should preserve the separate value through a written contract. Okay, so what do you think? What stands out? Like, what's a common thing people go like ask you about this stuff? Break it down for us.
I mean, those are all great tips. And if you want to keep something separate, I highly recommend you always have some very clear evidence of that. Anything you do come into the marriage with is separate, but it is very easy to accidentally commingle it or spend it on the community and not keep records of what you spent. Many times people end up losing their separate property assets because they've commingled it or spent it on the community and they don't have the documentation to show that. So anything you can make very clear and a separate contract for is always good. That's why a prenup could be very useful in that situation, or even a postmarital agreement where you outline, whose property is whose after marriage, and definitely keeping it separate in a separate account if it's something that, is a separate property. There are laws for tracing separate property and getting reimbursement, but the presumption is that all property is community. So unless you can prove the separate nature of the property, you could be at a disadvantage. So keeping clear records and things separate or having a prenup or postnup is always the safest way to go.
All right. This seems the next article here. It's like this is our financial advice and divorce kind of episode here. So the next one, from Forbes.com. Know what you can afford before you get divorced. I think we covered this in the last episode, but let's see what we have here. Um, so this person who wrote this article, Ava Aviva Pinto, is a wealth manager with Wealth Spire Advisors. So as a certified divorce financial analyst, I'm often asked by my clients, can I afford to get divorced? And it's a great question. Divorce often means that the income used to pay for one household will have to support two in the future. To determine whether you will have enough money and resources, you'll need to calculate exactly what you earn, what you spend, and what you anticipate spending post-divorce. So just as important, your budget is understanding. Just as important as your budget is understanding how the assets from the marriage will be divided. You will need to determine what you own jointly and what is yours individually. The way assets are divided varies from state to state in the US. So for example, generally in New York, which is an equitable distributable state, assets acquired during the marriage are marital and divided equitably. So Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin are community property states, which divide assets 50-50. So in Alaska, spouses have the option to make their assets community property. So one of her clients had signed a post-nuptial agreement 12 years into the marriage. After the husband's company became very successful, she didn't read through the document, and when she divorced, she was shocked to find that her lifestyle would have to be cut drastically. She had never managed the family finances and never budgeted on her own money. After a year of struggling to make ends meet, we created her budget and financial plan. And once she understood, she looked for a part-time job to make extra money. So let's see. So when you meet with, the CDFA, they'll help you fill out the net worth statement. Your marital attorney will need to follow with court. They will help you determine whether what you're currently spending and what you're likely to afford post-divorce. So is this a thing people plan, like, oh yeah, I want to, because it's like emotionally, you're like, okay, I want to get the divorce. I've made up my mind. And then there's a whole nother kind of issue. So it's people, I assume they don't think that way. Otherwise they'd have to kind of revert. And that's kind of like, I don't want to go back. So it's a problem either way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in that, what you were reading, they were talking about a post nuptial agreement. And so it's very important to read it and to, sign off on it with an attorney and know exactly what you're signing, because you don't want to be in a situation where you can't get out of it. And, it's a dangerous situation. But as far as planning, I have almost all of my clients talk with a financial planner or an accountant or someone who can help them figure out the best financial split, and what their budget's going to look like after divorce, whether it's just from regular community property law or from, whatever a prenup or postnup says. But most people don't think to talk to a financial planner, but it's really important, because when you're deciding how to divide your assets, you don't always know what it's going to look like if you end up with this versus that, or, what asset can I use to invest and make income. And a lot of times one spouse is the one that really manages the financial aspects, and the other one really doesn't know what they have and what they can do with what they have. And a lot of people want to trade, I keep the house, you keep these bank accounts, but don't necessarily realize the tax ramifications of that, or, that they're going to be cash poor by having a house and no cash. So all that stuff is really important to explore with a financial person.
All right, let's get into the part of the show where we ask Emily anything. So In this part of the show, we go over posts people put up, whether it's getting started in divorce and their journey, whether it's problems with child custody, or some, even financial things that come up. So let's get to our first post here. So this is the life after divorce one. So ex-wife of 3 years asked if I wanted to take a photo shoot with her and our children. She said that the children, 7 and 10, asked for it. It feels weird. She's the one who broke off the marriage 3 years ago. She said, I could have professional photos of my kids, which would be nice. What do you think?
I mean, that's interesting. I've never heard anything like that before. I think it's not it depends how the people are getting along. It's not a bad idea to want to have the whole family together for photos. It's probably really nice for the kids and good memories for them. So I don't think it's, a terrible idea, but the parents have to be getting along well enough to make that work.
Yeah, it's just a photo shoot. I'm sure you could deal with each other for 15 minutes, maybe. Okay.
Right, exactly.
All right, this is another getting started, or this is getting started one. So, how do I stop from being afraid? So I'm 25, husband's 31. We have 2 kids under 2 years old. I'm the breadwinner. He liquefied his retirement to pay for a roof that we didn't need for a few more years, and took a huge pay cut to work his dream job. So I'm left with cleaning and mostly caring for the kids. He doesn't meet my needs in the bedroom. We fight a lot in front of the little ones. Almost every weekend, I end up going to my room. He took the master, and I'm on the floor in my daughter's old room. I don't want the kids to see us fighting, so I have to walk away. He has so many rules, and I'm so tired of him not contributing. He promised me if I'm the breadwinner, he would leave me alone. He literally bothers me while I'm working and harasses me for an answer about divorce. I've talked to the lawyer and paid my retainer. However, husband keeps saying he loves me again, and doesn't want to lose me. Nothing has changed except he got me into bed again. I feel so stupid and scared. Someone please talk to me, because everyone in my life wants to be Switzerland.
Everyone in her life wants what?
Yeah, I think to be Switzerland, like I guess something like in the middle. I don't get it either.
Oh, to be Switzerland. I got it.
Yeah,
Like not take a side. You said move to Switzerland or something. That's
maybe
really
that too.
that makes sense though. Yeah, that's tough. Only you can make that decision. This isn't a decision somebody can make for you. But if one person wants a divorce and isn't willing to work on the relationship, then the divorce is going to happen because it's a no-fault divorce state. It sounds like, she is really unhappy and wants it, and he wants it, is what it sounds like. So, you know, at some point, it's just time to get off the fence and do it. But I always feel like your gut kind of knows when it's the right time. And when your gut tells you, okay, this is it, let's just do it, then follow your gut. If your gut is saying, I'm not sure this is the right time yet, then give it a little more time. But usually your gut will tell you when you're just done and there's no hope left to fix the relationship and you're just ready to be done.
Yeah, there's something about like in your intuition, like it's in that Malcolm Gladwell book too, like where called like thin slicing, where like someone like this, I don't know, it's like an artist who could tell if a painting is fake just on
Yeah.
quickly scanning. It's like the Terminator scan. So yeah, so I think I guess your mind and your body, you kind of know you well enough. Okay. Child custody. This is a tricky one here with kids. So my child doesn't want to visit me. My divorce is finalized today, but I've been out of the house for 2 months. I initiated the divorce, but there was no drama. It was amicable separation. My ex and I are still friends and committed to being great co-parents. He called me today and said our 6-year-old son was crying at school today because it's his day to come to my house and he didn't want to go. Obviously, this is heartbreaking for me. Our son has always been a daddy's boy, a lot of it having to do with the fact dad is no rules fun guy and I'm a strict, responsible mom. Also the fact that I work weekends, so my role has always been the after school responsibilities person and dad does fun stuff on the weekend. I don't want my son to hate me, but at the same time, someone has to provide him with structure and discipline. I'm not sure how to proceed to make this easy for him. I'm sure I'm not the one with the problem. Any experience or advice would be appreciated.
Wow, that's tough. I mean, that's the kind of situation where I think you want to go to like a parenting coach or um a parenting expert to try and figure out how you can apply the rules and structure, but still relate well to your child because the child many times is going to gravitate towards the fun parents or the less strict parents, and it doesn't mean you have to change or not have rules, that's important too. But I think talking to a parenting expert can really help.
Okay, that's all the time we have for today on the Modern Divorce Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Thank you.